We're all descendants of the finest dragon fighters from everywhere the Vikings ever traveled.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation, and our podcast.
And today we're covering the live action How to Train Your Dragon movie. And yes, they actually went through with this.
So all we can say at the moment is that if you've seen the original movie, then you've seen this movie without seeing it. Barely anything is different, and we'll explain why that's a good thing and not so good a thing. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, notifications to future podcasts and want to pause videos.
And thank you so much for joining us today. Subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, everything you do specials. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
So, we got to see this for free?
Yes.
On Peacock.
Yes.
And since it was for free, we decided to go ahead and give it a watch.
Yeah.
Although Russell kept saying it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I've heard it's the same thing. It's just the same movie. Why should we watch it? And I said one more time, it's free.
Yes. And that exactly is what it is. And there's going to be people that are like, well, you get mad when they change too much. You don't leave the story alone. But then this movie keeps just about everything the same and you're not happy. Well, what's the problem? The problem is that if they were going to do this line for line, almost line for line, almost shot for shot, almost pat for pat, why did you remake it? Mm-hmm. If the creator said the animated one in his eyes wasn't the perfect version and the live action isn't a way to get it the way he really wanted, which is insulting his own work, you expected some type of change, but it really isn't. They changed maybe 3 things in this whole movie, and then that's it. You watch the whole thing. And so it's like if you're gonna make the exact same movie and do nothing but put in live action and maybe cost $10 million cheaper, why bother remaking the movie?
This is why, because it had a budget of $150 million. And it made over $636 million at the box office. That's why.
And it cost $10 million less to do this than the live action.
And that's why they did it. And they're going to keep doing it because they make quite a lot of money.
Forever.
So we know you guys know the backstory for the animated franchise. So we'll just quickly tell you about the live action fantasy adventure film.
Yes.
And it's considered a live action remake of the 2010 film.
Well, at least it is, not like Lion King.
And both are loosely based on the 2003 novel by Cressida Cowell. Mm-hmm. So it's produced by Universal Pictures, DreamWorks Animation, and Mark Platt Productions. So it was a trilogy of people producing it. Directed by Dean DeBlois, co-wrote and written by the animated films. Now that's funny because, Yeah.
And I think what was really hinging on this was that people were kind of breaking down the thing as the trailer was there. And majority of the trailer was just shot-for-shot reenactments of the animated movie. And people breaking it down and seeing what were the minor differences in there. Well, major differences would be how Toothless looks and the other dragons. And to where they don't look as much as like the animated counterparts. They want to make them more realistic. Toothless doesn't look as cutesy. Mm-hmm. They didn't make him act like a dog. He acted more like a dragon, so they take it seriously. And they also left out a couple of plot points. And they're assuming you've seen the original already, so they don't have to explain it. But a lot of people said there's some important pieces of information were missing in certain parts by the time it got to the third act. And the third thing would be is that they add a new character that said nothing and added nothing to the story. And I do not know her name, but she's some type of bone reader or something that Stoic relied on to know what the fate would be of the village. And that character was never in the original movie. I do not know why she was in there. She never spoke a word. She just was somebody they relied on. And that.
Honestly, they wanted to have a female who's a co-leader, which doesn't make any difference. Sorry, people out there who feel that way. We disagree. It was fine as it was. He didn't need a female co-leader. He was doing fine leading the people as he was. So it's just something they threw in. And the fact that they threw it in, as you said, and she didn't say anything, makes it worthless and unimportant.
Right.
They could have saved the money on paying the character, the actress, the waste of time on the costume and everything else.
Yep,
But that's just how we feel. Tell us what you think in the comments. Because if you think a character doesn't say anything or anything made a difference to this movie, we'd really like to know how.
Right.
So, with that being said, the movie was successful financially, and critics pretty much praise it for the cinematography,
Mm-hmm.
and it did look beautiful. I did tell you that. I liked the way Toothless looked. He looked really good. Except for a couple of scenes we could tell where it didn't look real, it looked real. They did a really good job. And lastly, it's better than a lot of the live action remakes we've seen recently, whether they be from America, Japan, or wherever. It wasn't soulless. It was just a live action remake of the animated version.
Right.
And it pretty much stuck to it, which made it not a bad watch.
Right.
You can't say it was terrible because it wasn't.
No, because it's the same
We've
exact
seen
story.
terrible. We have a list of terrible. We've done terrible podcasts for terrible movies.
Right.
And I can honestly say that this How to Train Your Dragon live action version is not one of them.
And get ready, because we're going to get remakes of the sequels, probably the TV shows, and more live action remakes of other DreamWorks films.
In
now.
April of last year at CinemaCon, Universal announced the live action remake of the second film.
Yeah.
And it was already in development at that time, and it's scheduled to come out in June of 2027.
Great! With that, we can't even really go into the plot too much because, again, it's pretty much the same as the anime movie. The differences besides the character being Anna was one, when it comes to fighting the Red Death Dragon, who looks a little different in here, maybe it's more book accurate. We're not sure. We never read it. And they did not put in the explanation of Hiccup finding out the weakness of all the dragons. They just kind of go in, fight the dragon with all they got, and beat it. And a lot of people said that's a bit of a plot hole because they don't explain how he did. They just go in and beat it because teamwork. And
then you told me that the only voice actor from the movie was Gerard Butler,
Right.
who appeared in here in the live action.
right, replaying his role as Stoic the Vast. And
you wonder why they didn't include more from the animated
Yeah,
cast.
yeah. All the adults could have been the same actors from the movie, and then that probably would have helped make it even better. They're getting back into this role, and you have to say that he was one of the best parts of the movie and the performances because he's getting to play a role he really loved, and he's become really famous in the animation and for DreamWorks for doing this role. And
he was already famous for doing a lot of other movies, action movies. His introduction to all of us was, I think it was 3000.
I think so, yeah.
And 300 or 3000.
300? No, 300 the movie,
thank you.
yeah.
And after that, he blew up, and he's been in so many things. But I think what was great about this is for those who are only familiar with him as a voice actor, now they get to see him as a live action actor.
Right.
As, like myself and others have known to be already.
Right.
So it was smart casting him, not just because he could do justice to the role, but I think they also were depending on people who already know him as a live action actor.
Yeah, right. And another thing would be that when it comes to the lines and the movie is heavily reliant on you knowing, just like when Disney does some live action movies, the big core of the films rely on you how much you love the original How to Train Your Dragon and trying to get literally line for line, shot for shot, and even emotions accurate. And then that's where a lot of people are sort of at crossroads with. They don't know if that was good or bad because the animated one was so memorable for how the characters reacted and sounded when they said these lines and had the humor in there. And they toned down the humor quite a bit in here. A lot more of it was taken seriously. But one issue is that a lot of people said you could tell because they wanted this to be bigger than the anime one because they were brought to life. And it would be more impressive to see these feats done with real people rather than animation. Which, I don't know what that says about you, but I think that's a little insulting to the animators who worked on the original film. But the actors were trying to make the same expressions as the characters in the movie. But when they're delivering the lines, you weren't feeling anything. And Mama has said this while we were watching. You know, it's not a bad movie, but just not into this like it was the original. And they were trying to match they couldn't match the energy of the voice actors, and they were relying on just reenacting it and doing it as close as possible to get the effect, so people will just use their imaginations and remember the nostalgia for the film to say, hey, it's just like it. Unfortunately, it's not. They're just reenacting the things best as they can, but that spark that the animated one had, it wasn't in here. They were just making sure they got every detail right minus the voice acting part.
True. And that's unfortunate. Again, I applaud them for sticking to the original and not going off track and trying to make it something different or agenda focus or a new message or so forth. I mean, you had little elements in it that were delivered through lines and the extra character, but I would say for 95% of it, they stuck with it. I applaud them for that.
Yeah.
I applaud them for, again, for having Gerard Butler in here. It was one of the smartest things they've done.
Yeah.
And Mason Thames, who plays Hiccup, wasn't bad.
Right.
We weren't familiar with him, and then Rascal looked up who he is.
Yeah. And he had been in some other movies before this, mostly some horror films, and still live action. But this, I think he was chosen because maybe he looked the closest to Hiccup, even though he's a little older than the character. And to me, I think what's funny is I think they want someone very attractive to look at for Hiccup. And some were fine with this, some weren't. Like I said, the actor is 18 at the time he did the movie. Hiccup is 16. He was this really geeky, lanky kid. And he was supposed to be an underdog. Well, you see him in live action, and he's already attractive. He's already in shape.
Hit.
Yeah, puberty is hit, and Hiccup doesn't hit that till the second movie.
It's the Young Justice version of How to Train Your Dragon.
I guess so. And Hiccup doesn't hit that until the second movie. So the fact he already looks like he's hit puberty from the get-go, I think affects you seeing him as the same character. It's like, why are people picking on him? Look at him. So, not the fault of the actor, is just, I think that sort of also messed with people getting attached to this version of Hiccup.
True. So, let's go through the cast quickly. As we mentioned, Mason Thames as Hiccup, horrendous Haddock the Third. And I love when you saw the book. The book is presented as Hiccup's own story.
Right.
So I like that. Nico Parker as Astrid Hofferson. It says love interest, but not really in this movie version yet.
Not much. They had the moments, but she acted very disinterested in him up until like the last minute when she kissed him. Like,
and she was different from the animated version as well, and that's one thing we kind of had a problem with.
Yeah, she was a lot more...
She was kind of cold.
Yeah,
and uninteresting. Sorry.
Yeah, and we get, yes, she was serious in the animated one, but she didn't dislike her. She just took it seriously. And they didn't even have the thing where, the female Vikings have to do more. They never even brought that up in the version. But for some reason, they thought she needed to be more tough. Well, she already was. You didn't need to add anything to that character.
Exactly. Gerard Butler as Stoic the Vice. Nick Frost, which we were surprised to see, as Gobber the Belch.
Yeah.
Hiccup's dad's blacksmith. Gabriel Howell as Snotlout Jorgensen.
Yes, these names.
Julian Dennison as Fishlegs Ingerman. Bronwyn Jones as Huffnut Thorston. Harry Travelden as Toughnut Thorston.
Toughnut the crack.
Peter Serafinowicz as Spitelout Jorgensen. Ruth Codd as Phlegma the Fierce, who lost her right leg during one of the dragon fights, a member of the Viking village.
Yeah, and so they gave her the same thing as Hiccup, only from the very start instead of at the end. You couldn't even tell she had that until you were reading this right now.
True. Additional actors: Naomi Worthner, Murray MacArthur, Andrea Ware, Anna Long Brophy, Marcus Onalude, Peter Selwood, Daniel John Williams, Kate Kennedy, Selena Jones, Nick Cornwall, and Samuel Johnson. Not Jackson, Johnson.
Yeah.
So, we watched it, and again, we've seen a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah.
I think it was okay.
This is the tamest one we've seen.
And I would probably give it a B+.
Yeah.
I think the elements of putting modern ideas in it for a modern audience didn't work.
Yeah.
The chieftain, who was unnecessary.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Hiccup not getting growth physically, where he looks like they want him to look in the end. And Nika, is that her name again?
I think so.
Nico, not being interesting are for us what keeps it from being an A.
Yeah.
But if you watch How to Train Your Dragon, the 2025 live action film, let us know in the comments, what did you think of it? How does it compare to the animated?
Yeah.
Which do you like better? And were you okay with the changes that they put in the live action?
Right.
Tell us what you think. If you haven't seen it, it's available on Peacock. and probably is Universal Peacock.
Yeah, it is.
And then you probably can stream it digitally, rent it, buy it, give it a watch, come back, tell us what you think.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, book reviews for anime series, anime shows, all things animation, and we know now more live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes, and thank you so much again for joining us today. As always, you are special.
Thank you so much for watching Master Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.